向かうしかない。ダメだ、バリアが強すぎて効かない。
小路兄さん、行こう。
おい、あいつら消えたぞ。
はるかのサイキック能力さ。
Okay, into the degrees of outside influence. So the degrees of outside influence, since the babies are living 100 years in the Bible, they're wiggling and breathing, that when outside influence does come around, that you're still able to defeat outside influence with smoothness, understanding a few calibrations of your surrounding area. So therefore, if your babies live 100 years, and wiggle and breathe, the hair now comes out of the bone marrow, where the lungs follow and circumnavigate through the body, and then clot to the sides of the pallets of the body. From there, we suspect we're looking at brand new lungs. Not only that, but that the prehistoric generations of these kind of Merriam's things would have picked the nasally portions of the nostrils, which would have led to the idea of the chemical sac which burns in your throat.
Pulpier portions of the
That which
fruit
burns in your throat is
acidics.
none other than a very thick, palated portion itself,
Pulpier portions of the fruit
which helps
acidics.
guide chemicals to begin with. These thick portions did. So these burning throat portions are actually thick. They end up being thick portions.
Pulpier portions of the fruit acidics.
And because we only have two ways for our cholesterol to export out of our body, that the lungs and the nasally portions are the only two places where one could export cholesterol. And once you get to the exportation of cholesterol in new lungs, you're actually looking at what is a lot of space in your body filling, because the cholesterol has now been liposuctioned out of your body in one sense. That leads to our liposuction section, which shows that in ancient Egypt, potentially, that they would have discovered these via any normal stone plucking from the deep embedded sands, or any of those attributes into the brim level of what are sensations. However, when we get to the hermaphrodite growth spore, I think what we're talking about Tipsy's brain, is that you might need a spatula for this to get around the edges and the brim level, is that by the time the waters are significantly stirred, and understand that waters are stirred only means that the swamps are solid, and that the equation of the hermaphrodite child, you can now taste at the tip of their tongue, the equivalent of a starfish thus far, because of usefulness that is already applied and able to be seen within the eyeball. That usefulness is in the Bible, 100-year-old infants, who of course wiggle and breathe, and then the hair now comes forth out of the bone marrow as an extra suppliant of their surrounding area. However, to say that the hair now circumnavigates with the lungs and you're still getting brand new lungs and you're still getting bone, osteospores, water, swamps, you're getting bone osteospores, lungs. You're still getting a burning sensation in your throat, which should actually weave itself into the right and proper dispatch compartments, which means now nasally and lung portions can be dispatched. So that if the ancient saying of Navy men living for 90 years who smoked cigarettes, they would cough up the equivalent of one lung. But if they equated that with the ancient portion of Egypt, they may do 3 or 4 times that amount and still produce brand new lungs. And so, in those equations may be accurate thus far. Not only that, but the child equation may be accurate towards the normal midget personification that you get from ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics. And so that if that is woven in there, which is a normal weaving, the fact that these people have a frown and a smile is the preliminary portion. And some of our schoolages really is actually top notch because chemically speaking, frowns and smiles are a very good beginner portion. That the hermaphrodite starfish infant is really able to go from before any outside influence to begin with, and that many of the same color chemicals, sound wave chemicals, light chemicals, first day of light chemicals at hermaphrodites and fish girls cannot even be underestimated, but those would have been there still. But the first day of light added with the fish girls may or may not have been there at that time frame. We just don't think that it wouldn't have been there now. However, once you attribute that the surrounding area of a one-track versus two-track mind person is still emitting what hermaphrodite chemicals should emit, that then the Bible verse, of course, we are going to go with college black people and say that all black white is brand new feeling. That Shem Ham and Japhet, the earth separates the fire from water, the tense of Shem are opposite. Just to get to Shem Ham and Japhet, the earth separates fire from water, all black white. Just to say that Shem Ham and Japhet were from Noah's Ark, and at that time frame, people cannot come down. And this is college sorority stuff for black people, which is a turn on to them. And so that for the old folks of black people who have been attacked, and we already understand that people have been attacked already by outside influence. And that's part of the podcast is outside influence. And that the old folks community should have already had an ancient Rome associated with it before crossing the cross Atlantic, getting to the slave environment, and getting to the present time that we're in now, to the capabilities of our section, running side by side with some of the people. Admirably, any situation like that, which only draws in the activity warnings that would draw them in, that there are always success stories in an environment like that. But getting back to the fact that chemical and that you can come down off the heights of Shem Ham Japhet, where the people cannot associate with other people at that time frame. And yet those people who were not allowed to associate with other people could simply live a long time. Pretty much. Then that's crisscrossed into what is SS Skinny Scandos, in which they almost fall on the same course of action. In the Skinny Scando portion, which to us, of course, is all swamp related. It is all tri-state Arabic story of conquest over other people just by having wisdom, roughly knowledge, their aptitude. Miriam cannot be a prophet in the Bible, however, and but she could deal with medicine.